So you have to reach out for that support, and it's really important to do that early on.
You're listening to the Care Podcast, brought to you by Unique Senior Care. We're here to share honest, practical conversations to help you navigate care. Today we're joined by Helena Hitchcox, our Director of Operations. Helena has over 40 years' experience of helping clients and families maximise their wellbeing at home. We're going to equip you with some practical advice, wisdom and reassurance. Thank you for joining us, Helena. So, Helena, in reality, when we are coping with a loved one who is going through some challenges, it's really easy just to be worrying all the time and not be able to switch off. Have you got any personal advice from your experience about how to handle that?
Yes, I can relate exactly what you're saying to my experience and my journey with my mum with her Alzheimer's. Mum had early onset Alzheimer's. She started with her memory problems when she was 58, and I actually lived away at the time. And as an only child, there was a lot on me. So I had caring responsibilities and a job and mum. And first of all, I panicked and thought straight away that I'd got to move her to live with me, and, you know, she couldn't be left on her own. And I'd worry at night thinking, what's she doing? You know, what's going on? But I had to really sort of sit back and think, okay, you can't do everything. You live 100 miles away. What can you do to make things easier? And it's very different when you're working in care to when you're actually experiencing it yourself, because you know what advice to give to everybody, but you don't do it yourself. But eventually I did realise that actually Mum has got a big circle of support around her. So she still had her own mum, my nan was still alive. She had a sister and a brother, and she had a great circle of friends and neighbours. Very social person. So it was about ensuring that I drew upon their support to help me support Mum to live in her own home for as long as she could. And you think that other people are going to not want to help. I also, oh God, I'm going to put pressure on people to help me. They're going to say yes, but actually they're only going to say yes because they're embarrassed not to, that kind of thing. But when you look at somebody's life and their circle around them, they've always been around that person, and they've always helped them if they've been through crises in their life and, you know, life experience, and they're always more than happy to help. You know, I was fortunate to have that circle of support around my mum. So Mum's sister used to go in every day and check in on her for me, and, you know, make sure that everything was safe in the home, that she got food, that kind of thing, but never taking away from the fact that my mum liked to go out and do her own shopping and that kind of thing. And my nan would go shopping with her, and friends would come round regularly. They'd have a bit of a rotation of who was going round when. So I felt that I could live 100 miles away with that knowledge that she was being looked after, without the need for me as her only daughter there continually, because I was going down every week. I was going down on a Friday after work, that kind of thing. And it becomes a real issue, and you start to burn out, particularly when you've got a job and other caring responsibilities. So I think it's really about building that network around the person. It's not just the social and family aspect around that person, but it's thinking about the fact that, you know, in my case, it was a memory problem. It was Alzheimer's disease. So having a look at what support is out there for people living with Alzheimer's disease, looking for your local Alzheimer's society, working with the GP and seeing if they could signpost to any other services. Mum started attending an early onset group for people living with Alzheimer's, but they didn't go to a day centre where they might do more sort of age appropriate stuff like, I don't know, knitting or singing old songs. This group used to go to the pub and have a meal, and my mum used to love her half lager and lime, so it was very age appropriate for her. So yeah, very much building that network. You've got to build a network to support you. Nobody can do it on their own. You know, what will happen eventually is you'll just burn out, and you're not going to be able to help your loved one if you're in that position yourself.
Yeah. And not everyone is fortunate enough to have that amazing network around them, but I guess there might be other options like befrienders, or tapping into the kind of local services that you've mentioned for people that don't have that natural family social network around them.
That's it. I think that very often people don't realise how much support is out there, but you know, we work with social prescribers these days that will help and signpost you to services, and you can contact your social prescriber through your GP, and they'll work with somebody to signpost to services such as memory cafes, or if it's an OT somebody needs for a physical disability, that kind of thing. But as you say, befriending services. There's so much more out there than we think. When you're in that position, you sit there very much that you feel on your own. You're on your own. This is my mom. She's so important to me, and I've got to look after her. And you feel that everything comes on you. And you really have got to take a step back and think, okay, I'm one human being and I can't do this on my own. So what do I need to do to get that support in place so that I can stay well to support my mom and be the daughter that she wants me to be? Because you don't want to be just seen as the carer. You want to be a daughter, and you still want that relationship with that person. So yeah, it's about looking at what's out there, seeking advice from your GP, from local community hubs, from your local authority, because there's so much out there that is around to help people.
Great advice. And you've mentioned your mum's diagnosis was Alzheimer's. Do you think people with relatives with other issues like Parkinson's or just frailty, as they get older, do you think they have the same kind of worries, or would it be different?
Absolutely. My journey was very much about mum's Alzheimer's. She was physically fit, but it was around her Alzheimer's. But we deal with lots of different illnesses, conditions, and people need the appropriate support. And again, with something like Parkinson's or multiple sclerosis, those kind of conditions that people face, they're going to need that practical support from their family member. But there are also organisations out there that can help with all kinds of conditions, support, that kind of thing. So again, there is a network out there for you to tap into to get that help, and there are plenty of resources out there for advice. And as I say, we've talked in previous episodes about the fact that socialisation and activity and connection is really, really important. And I think, whatever the condition may be, that is really important, whether you've got a really good circle of support around that person, or you reach out to clubs, to groups where people share their own experiences, that kind of thing. There is always so much out there, more than we think, and it's just about finding that information to ensure that you get the support you need as a carer.
Yeah, and maybe letting go of some of the guilt that it has to be all you, and acknowledging that there are people out there who want to help, whether that be people we know already, or those people putting their passion and their specialism into a group or something like that. Absolutely.
And we mentioned it earlier that you're not going to be any help to that person if you've burned out.
Yeah.
If you've burned out, you aren't going to be able to help mom, dad, or whoever it might be in your family. So you have to reach out for that support, and it's really important to do that early on. So when you're feeling that, things are moving forward a little bit here, I'm not able to do all this practical support, mom's sat on her own because she can't get out, I'm feeling really guilty because she's going to get lonely. You've got to start thinking about what's out there to help you and mom. There's also, carers networks, places that you can go as a carer and the person living with the condition. So it's not just about your loved one. It's about you yourself as well, that, you know, getting that support and the help that you need, and being with people in like-minded situations that you can get that help with. So really important.
Yeah, and each person has a right to a carer's assessment for themselves
Absolutely.
as well, don't they?
Yeah. So as you say, it's a right. So if you feel as a carer that you need more support, you can call your local authority for a carer's assessment in your own right, as well as a care assessment for your loved one.
Brilliant. Thank you, Helena.
Thanks, Jo.
And thank you to everyone for listening. We hope that this episode has given you some confidence, practical advice and reassurance in navigating your own care journey. I've been Jo Cleary, your host at the Care Podcast. We hope that you'll join us next time.